Hey, Sound Up fans, Mark Goodman here. To stay connected to everything going on in the world of music, make sure to subscribe to this podcast, Sound Up with Mark Goodman and Alan Light. Join the conversations, live events, and be a part of the podcast. To get in on the action, check out our website, sounduppod.com. Like and follow us on socials, and email us at connect@sounduppod.com.
This is Sound Up with Mark Goodman and Alan Light, the only music podcast that matters.
Hey, I'm Mark Goodman.
And I'm Alan Light.
This week on Sound Up, Shirley Halperin, co-editor-in-chief of The Hollywood Reporter, joins us to review the biggest weekend in music with coverage of the all-star benefit concert FireAid, the MusiCares event honoring the Grateful Dead, and coverage of music's biggest night, the Grammys.
All of these were used to raise funds and awareness to help those affected by the devastating destruction caused by the fires that destroyed parts of Los Angeles recently. Curious to hear from Shirley about how that felt in each of these rooms over the weekend. Plus, Beyonce seizes the moment to announce a major, much-expected tour. We have questions and comments from you, the Sound Up Pod Squad, and as always, our new music picks of the week. Let me tell you what I love about Shirley Halperin and why I'm glad she's joining us. Because I asked her last week, hey, I know it's going to be crazy. Can you just give us a couple of minutes, to wrap up the weekend? You're going to be at all the events, and I'm sure there's no way we can get any time in your calendar. And she wrote back saying, oh, since all the Grammy parties aren't happening, that's easy, of course. Like, this is a slow week for Shirley Halperin.
That's odd.
That's how much she's the right person to hear from about what it is like in Los Angeles right now.
That's wild. All right. Well, that's all going to be happening here. But we always do this question, our Throwback Thursday question. So before we get to all the stuff we're just talking about, we do have this week's Throwback Thursday question. Make sure to check us out on socials at sounduppod.com. And the question, this past week, we asked you, what portable device was your gateway to digital music?
Love this answer. Monica wrote in that hers was an iPod knockoff that she bought at a flea market. Later, a Sony digital Walkman. I love that we bought some off-brand iPod Shuffle for our son when he first went to camp, and he couldn't get it. It only played one song. A few weeks later, he's like, all I can hear is Taxman from Revolver. Like, it won't play anything else. So hoping that Monica's experience was a little better than that. Our friend Dave Bell says he bought a 150 gig iPod Classic, well over 18,000 songs on there, and he still has room. Just hope he can replace the battery on that thing.
You got to back that stuff up.
I think they would function in this century.
Yeah.
So, like Mystical said, Mark, you remember your first portable?
The first thing I used, but it wasn't for me. I was doing an event, and this was 99. I want to say maybe early 2000. And I got for gifts or giveaways, it was a Rio. Do you remember the Rios?
Yes.
And they were sort of shaped
right
like Neil Young's piece of shit.
They were the triangle, like the Toblerone.
Yes, exactly. Toblerone is exactly what we said. I who knew at that time, But that was, so in essence, that was my first.
I wish somebody had written saying their first was a Zune just to be able to say it. Right?
And mine was, and I had to go look it up because I was like, did I really have this? I had one of those portable Sony CD Walkmans that actually had like strap it to your arm. The thing was huge though. Like walking around with this big thing on it was like a shoulder pad. Yeah.
I remember having that thing with the adapter in the car.
Yes, exactly.
Putting that on the dash.
Right.
Like it went into the cassette player or it was a plug-in.
I remember that. I'm usually such a late adopter to all of this, but I did have and it's probably, I threw it away. I'm sure it's probably now worth a fortune as some weird collector's item. The first Walkman that was like the size of a hardback book.
Right.
I got those really early on. And so I was fairly early into. And then I remember I got one that was little later that fit into the pocket of my jacket, like the jean jacket.
The mini?
That's still the cassette, but you had to like slide it open to get the cassette in there because it was small, and I could
but
fit it in the
that's not
pocket.
digital. That's
No,
still
that's not
analog, though.
digital, but that's portable. Portable.
Yeah, but I mean, and I remember getting one of those knockoff MP3 players that literally I think could hold maybe 8 to 10 songs, and the readout was like it would like scroll by and it would be like track 1. Like by the time you could read the whole name of what song it was, the song was over. It was ridiculous.
All right, keep them coming. We're going to keep posting questions every Thursday, every Throwback Thursday, and keep you amused and entertained.
All
digging back into your memory crates there.
That was a great question, by the way, Roger, because I literally I had to really strain to like, what was the first one? And just before we wrap it, did anybody actually hear the Neil Young thing? I forget what he
player.
Pono.
The Toblerone player, I'm going to call it from now on.
That's it.
I heard it. It sounded good, but I don't know. It was supposed to be, light years better than what was already out. I didn't find. I guess that's why it's not around anymore. That's probably the reason. Shitty product. All right, we've got Shirley Halperin, as we've been saying, and before we get to her first-hand account of everything LA this past weekend, we can talk a little bit about, and this is a giant topic. How did we feel about the weekend musically?
FireAid was Thursday. Then the MusiCares event honoring the Grateful Dead Friday, Clive Davis party Saturday, and the Grammys on Sunday. Shirley did all of those, can talk about all of those. For our purposes here on the East Coast, I assume we can just talk about FireAid and the Grammys. So let's get our thoughts out of the way so she doesn't have to sit through us going through that.
The real first thing with FireAid, I have to say, because that was Thursday night, everyone was waiting. 3 of us, this is what we do for a living. None of us knew what time the show was. Couldn't figure out, like, is it on? Is it supposed to be on? Everyone thought it was earlier and probably should have been earlier than it actually was.
It absolutely should have been earlier.
For us on this coast, I think and I understand, this is the limitation of you couldn't do it against one of those other events. You want to do it while people were in. You were left with Thursday. But not starting an event till 10 o'clock East Coast time that ran till 3 a.m.
Right.
The whole thing didn't have the possibility to resonate as like this big national thing that everybody's participating in that same way.
In addition to bad scheduling, the passage of information was horrible because on Sirius XM, 9 p.m. is what we were promoting all week, and we're carrying the thing live. So even we didn't know what the start time was.
It was all pulled together in a flash. Mm-hmm. And I know they were still tweaking till the last minute. And if they had to buy that extra time, I get it. But I think all of that did cut into the experience. Yeah. If you weren't, if you're in LA and it was starting at 6 or 7 or whatever it is, fine. That's one thing. And that's really the intention. But, to have that kind of resonance where it's this, everybody's participating, everybody's sending in money, we're all together on this. It didn't, just didn't have the chance to be able to do that. That said, they pulled off an event that ran incredibly well.
I thought so too.
For the scale of what they were doing, to have the 2 different venues, to rotate the stages and be able to keep things moving. There were no delays. There were no tech issues. Everybody delivered. It paced well. Like all of that was a pretty remarkable achievement.
I thought so too. For something like that came together so quickly and with obviously so many people in the industry involved trying to pull it all together. It was a great job. And I don't know. I felt like I was crying all weekend. I mean, I'm glad that all of these things, I'm glad that LA took the stance that it did. I mean, I'm glad that they went on with these events, but that they, tuned them to the mood of the moment and the important thing at the moment. But I mean, as far as FireAid goes, to start with Dawes, with these 2 guys, Taylor and Griffin, whose houses burned to the ground. They lost everything. And we've seen posts from Taylor about what Mandy had been working on their home for years. And so that kind of story over and over again was intense. And yet I thought there were some really, really cool performances. I mean, I'll just jump to Pink doing Led Zeppelin. I thought that was pretty cool. Joking like I'm going to keep my feet on the ground today.
Well, she just had knee surgery or something,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
As well she should have, for God's sake. She was flying all over the place.
No aerials for this one. It's funny. Everybody was talking about the Pink doing the Zeppelin cover, doing Babe, I'm Gonna Leave You. What was funny, I thought she sounded great. And I thought the band sounded like, still nobody can do what Led Zeppelin can do. Like it still was, everybody kind of went straight to bombastic, and like it was fine. It delivered the thing, but like it just makes you appreciate the incredible, nuance and to use his phrase, light and shade of what, Zeppelin could do with those arrangements. But anyway, no, not to take away from actually pulling that off.
What about the two Billies kicking things off?
Yeah, the nice Billie Eilish coming out to join Billie Joe Armstrong.
She had to change venues, I think.
I think so. But she opened one and basically nearly closed the other. So she had some time.
She had time to walk down there. Because there's no cabs in LA.
I gotta say, I was, it's obvious and I should have seen it coming. Dr. Dre coming out and doing California Love killed me.
Right? Come on. I was dying.
Super obvious. Should have been ready for it. Wasn't ready for it. Thought it was amazing. So
really kind of, and everybody in the room went crazy. I wondered what was happening in the other venue when this stuff was going on. What's it like for those people? Everybody was watching on a screen, which is a bit less exciting. But from what I understand, it was just as electrifying because people knew they were going back and forth.
Well, and I was hearing, we have some reviews from people who were there on Thursday night, and they may bring this up. But texting with people, like apparently when Gracie Abrams came out, like the people lost their mind. Like it was screaming. That was the loudest that the audience got through the night, which is really interesting. It's sort of the person with the biggest hit right at this moment. But I don't know if you got that sense through the screen of like that was landing as massive as it did in the room. Everybody walked away talking about the Nirvana performance.
What did you guys think about that?
For me, I felt like they already did this. This is what they did at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. It was kind of that all over again. And it was fine. It wasn't, I don't know. It just didn't blow me away because like I said, it's happened once before.
The other piece of that's interesting to me, and this is not a criticism of either show, but it was striking to me that the Grammys hit the fundraising side so much harder than the FireAid show did.
I agree.
The FireAid show really, they kept the QR code up, whatever, and it's fine. But they really weren't doing the sort of constant call to action. And we're here to raise money and we're here to help people and we're here to do that. And it's fine. And it's fine that the Grammys really did lean into, hey, here's the running totals. We're getting these kind of amounts. Here's who's donated, running the, ads from the local companies, all of that stuff. I just thought it was interesting that, the way that the sort of benefit aspect of it played the reverse of what you would expect.
But they did show a lot of footage.
Yes, that was great.
I was there. I didn't get to drive to the places that burned down, although I was miles from it. It's hard to conceive of. And so I was glad that they did that. That filled in for me, instead of hammering, it's like, look at what's happening. Look at what has happened here. And look at the people who, wealthy people, in quotes, as well as middle-class people and poor people. And it's really hard to get that sense without the footage and without those people actually being on stage. They had the family on stage. That touched me. Like I said, I was literally crying all weekend. Every freaking story. Every story.
I think the biggest problem, if the show had any problem at all, it was that late start. If that had started 2-3 hours earlier, it would have been so much better because...
to be that long
right
at that time on a weekday, like you're just, that it becomes a really big ask for people to really stay with that, no matter how good it is. Mm-hmm. And again, it's the reality of trying to pull this thing together in the way that they did and work around the Grammys the way that they did. But yeah, sure. I mean, I didn't make it, I lasted whatever it was, 3 or 4 hours, mm-hmm. but I certainly didn't make it to anywhere near the end of it and had to catch up later. So should we quickly do some Grammy stuff before we then turn things over to Shirley here?
There was so much that happened at FireAid, and Rod Stewart showing up and talking about his neighbor. So
I got one more. I know I just said let's stop, but one more. This is just so. I just couldn't stop thinking about this as an idea. So at Live Aid, there were a couple of acts that came out that were really the blessing of the earlier generation. Joan Baez was there and CSN were there, and they were clearly there to link to activist history and rock and roll as purpose and all of that stuff. 40 years later, the same people come out to fill that same role. Joni is there, Stills and Nash are there doing that song. I know I say this too many times, but if you would have brought out people from 60 years earlier at Live Aid, that meant, Benny Goodman would have gotten up and played at Live Aid.
But that's not fair. That's not a fair criticism. I mean, we have more years of rock and roll.
No, this isn't a criticism, but it's do we not, I say this sounds negative. I don't mean it to sound negative. When do we move past the shadow of the 60s in this music?
You know when? I'll tell you exactly when. Starting today, actually, because the Dead, or they were MusiCares people, they got their thing, and
last night at the Grammys, Best Rock Song went to the Beatles and Best Rock Album went to the Stones. That is still a world. I'm not saying it's a bad world, but it's really shocking to me that CSN were the old guys at Live Aid, and 40 years later, they're the old guys at FireAid. Nothing has replaced that in terms of that sort of resonance. Even as much as the FireAid lineup was this kind of I love the 90s. I mean, Green Day, Alanis, Dre, even, that all of that, it was Chili Peppers, Nirvana, it was a heavy 90s thing. But when you wanted that, here's rock and roll community, we still look to those same figures. It's just really striking.
I think because, and I was thinking this during the show, I agree with you. It was because a friend that I was talking to, who is my age, but his life is completely different now. I said, "Oh wow!" And Stephen Stills and Graham Nash got together on stage, and he was like, "Yeah." I mean, so what? But I mean, not to be overblown about it, but that was really, another turbulent era, and an era where the musicians all spoke to the moment, and more so, I think, than a lot of what has happened since. Admittedly, there was that moment in Live Aid where the music biz got a conscience, but it makes sense to me. I understand what you're saying. It's ridiculous. Benny Goodman at Live Aid is the perfect analogy. But yeah.
Let's just do the math.
And I mean, just in general, I was thrilled to see Joni Mitchell up there. And I've seen her do this song, sort of in this era before. And I thought she did a really, really nice version of it, but it's difficult. It's difficult for those guys.
So moving to Grammys, and if they did move the needle to a new generation or something, what'd you make of that?
It's the Grammys. And for me, the thing that made it was the fact that we were focused on this other thing. There was great performances, and we will certainly talk about those. But the focus, because the focus was on something so heavy, we could do away with the pettiness or, the sort of biting at each other that happens at the Grammys, or even dissing the Grammys in particular, except for Chapel Roan, of course.
Right. I think too that, I think we've talked about this too, that the Grammys used to be seen as the most important award in music, and it's kind of lost that luster. And I think this helped bring it back a little. It gave an importance to the night, to the event that wasn't there before. And I think it made people pay attention a little more. And it was nice that I was watching the show for the first time in several years thinking there's a need to watch it. And there's something here. They're doing something good. And it just felt a little different.
Well, and also I think that it did. I mean, if in the end the idea is, did this represent the year? The fact that you had awards won by Beyonce, Kendrick, Chapel Roan, Sabrina Carpenter,
the Beatles.
Look, some of the category stuff is a mess that clearly needs to be, really, they got to dig in deeper into that. Listen, what happens, it's obvious when you look at it, you self-select as a voter when you vote for categories, and the people that are self-selecting as rock voters are the old people. It's apparent in the nominations. And that's either got to be fixed or something dramatic has to happen, because it's untenable for that to happen. But in the big categories that everybody votes for, and in doing things like, I loved, it was a huge segment, long segment, but that all of the best new artist category, all of the best new artist nominees performed, that big group, medley performance of. I thought that was fantastic.
Me too.
That they did it and how it came off, and that it felt like, this really is about him, really looking at the moment and looking to the future and building something. And that part of it, I think, was actually really successful in that show.
Yeah, there's no doubt. I do think there were some major performances by current artists that made tons of sense to me. And that, like, Alan, I know you shouted out. Was it last week? I think you picked Doechii as one of your songs of the week, I think. And I went because I had read the person and didn't know anything, and went last week, and holy crap, now I get it. Now I see why she was nominated. Unbelievable performance there, surprising. And I feel like because this is the era when you can have a number one record and half the country has never heard it, that for her, that was an amazing moment. And even though she doesn't really have any current music, Janelle Monáe, come on. What did you guys think? As Michael Jackson?
Thought it was fun, but it's you try and take on doing a Michael at your own risk.
I thought she killed it.
I thought it was fine. I think the whole Quincy, as well-intentioned, I think you texted this at some point, well-intentioned but really long.
Yeah.
Like, you're not going to do a comprehensive cover of Quincy Jones' career.
Yeah.
And you're sort of left in between with, like, this is too much for TV without feeling complete enough for, fully honoring this achievement. Look, you can't possibly do enough for Quincy, but that felt like an oddly paced thing.
We talked about this before. Those in memoriam segments are brutal, and obviously he got heavy focus. But I never believed that getting somebody else to do a person's songs. I'd rather see an edit. I'd rather see a 5-minute edit of their work and great old footage of Q in the studio and that kind of thing. As much as I appreciated every performance.
I mean, I loved using the fact that it's a moment where, like, especially kids would pay attention to Cynthia Erivo coming off of Wicked, that she did a pretty great arrangement of Fly Me to the Moon, and that they sort of leaned into that. But, like, to do 5 songs within a tribute and to do sort of, here's a verse of We Are the World, like, that's just not a highlight of the show.
I was like, no, they're not going to do We Are the World, are they? Oh, no.
The one thing I wish you would get more of, and I was thinking about older, watching the Grammys as a kid and what it's like today, and it's such a different thing than it was.
Yeah.
I mean, first of all, back then, every award was on TV. There were classical performances. They were jazz. They did it all. The one thing I miss is every artist seems to have to just come out and have some sort of a stage show. And, like, the days of just come out, play your song and be great at it seem to be kind of gone.
Oh, it's mega produced. I mean,
produced.
That's what it's going for. And it gave a great spotlight to all the fact that they got performances from, including the surprise performance from The Weeknd, which wasn't very good, but that he was there, that you had Charlie XCX and Chappell Roan and Sabrina Carpenter. I don't know what else you could, Beyonce and Taylor didn't perform, but they were there. I don't know what else you do.
That was a great thing to see all of those Best New Artist nominees play. I thought it was a great thing, and showed what a category that was.
Yeah, I think that was, in terms of who's going to benefit from this, I think that was actually the thing that we'll see the most response in the marketplace from. I have to believe that those are not everybody doesn't know. Everybody has kind of heard that Benson Boone song, but doesn't know Benson Boone. Ray, who we've all gone on record as being a huge fan of, but the world hasn't really seen quite as much. They all knocked their moment out, and I think we'll all greatly benefit from that. I don't know how much is there a big impact on Sabrina Carpenter streams this week from coming off of 2 mega hits to do those hits? I love her. She did good, but I don't know if that's going to move the needle. Yeah, it was fun. It was a little overstaged, but it was fun.
I am not a member of the Academy, although I want to be. You are. Tell me your thoughts on Harvey Mason Jr. and what that moment and him, bringing out the weekend. And
I think the results do speak for themselves. I mean, we said we're only a couple of years removed, and the reason that he moved into the job was Neil Portnow and the women need to step up moment.
And he was temporary. He was like an interim guy at the beginning, the very beginning.
And what he said was, I don't know the numbers, but he said the stats, we brought in thousands of new voters. It's now 40% minority representation. It's whatever percentage women voters now. That's really the most significant thing you can do with an event like this. I mean, in addition to, as they said, the Black Music Collective and the Women in the Studio effort and all the things that they are doing, all the advocacy efforts, and those things are hugely important. But in terms of the awards themselves, all you can do is what do you do with the voting body, especially when there's so much old baggage. I mean, they redid, if you don't have a new recording credit after 20 years, I think, you get rolled out of you're not a lifetime voter.
Mm-hmm.
So it took a lot of people off the voting rolls, brought in a lot of newer voters. And I think you obviously see that in what the results look like. And I think that those, again, the big four, and now it's, I guess, big six, because producer and songwriter, everybody gets to vote in. And those were the right, as far as I'm concerned. Daniel Nigro won for producer. I mean, you could make a case for DJ Mustard, of course, but Daniel Nigro, who did Olivia Rodrigo and Chappell Roan, won that. I don't think anybody's going to argue with that. Amy Allen won the Songwriter Award, first woman to win the Songwriter Award since they've instituted that. And she's written for Sabrina and Harry Styles and, has crazy credits for that. Those are all really sound picks. And if you're doing it for history, I have to give him credit for it feels like there are changes that have been made and that we see reflected in the results.
Did either of you, when Beyonce won for Best Country Album, I was thrilled, but I was also like, oh no.
Ow, my jaw, I have a bruise because it hit the floor. I mean,
I was kind of concerned, is she getting this? And
instead of?
Yeah,
everybody was saying that. My feed was all like, oh, they gave her the country. Now they're not going to give her album of the year. But I do point back to only the country voters vote for the country category.
Right.
And everybody votes for the album of the year category. That's not it's not going to work unless they really knew the results or went back in and jerry rigged it, whatever it is. If those are clean, that shouldn't have any impact. So everybody started freaking out instantly. This is going to be the consolation prize, but it really did not think it was going to work that way.
And I wonder if country radio blinks. I mean, the fact that she won the country album of the year without country radio play, except for a station here or there, it is stunning to me. Really stunning. So
again, it's interesting in that, I'll just say it one more time because people get confused by this stuff. That vote was by people who self-selected to vote in the country category.
Yes.
So if now they could say, oh, people, because you self-select, maybe you don't know anything about country music, but you did vote in that category to make the statement of voting for Beyonce. That would be the argument I guess you could make against it. But if you give people benefit of the doubt that these were people who identified as country voters and that was their pick, that's then what's significant there.
Yeah. I thought it was great. I was stunned and happy. And the fact that it isn't a country album didn't play into it at all.
And she made a big announcement.
She announced on Saturday night that there would be a Cowboy Carter tour. That was the extent of it. And then announced on Monday morning the actual dates for the 22-date stadium tour. Limited stops.
To start.
And everybody keeps saying massive tour, but she's doing multiple nights. So really it starts April 28 in Los Angeles, 4 nights at SoFi Stadium, 2 nights in Chicago, 4 nights in East Rutherford, New Jersey, then off to London, Paris, and then back for 2 dates each in Houston, DC, and Atlanta. That's all we got.
Come on. She's going to go up against Taylor. She's going up against Taylor. She's going for the big.
Well, if she's going up against Taylor, she's got years to add on to this. She's not doing 6 U.S. cities and 2 Europe. 2 cities in Europe.
Of course not. But do you really think? Well, do you really think that that's going to be all she does? I mean, come on. come on, not the
I don't know, because she still has another album
Right.
to come in this kind of collection.
Right.
And if she does that, then does like a 3-year tour on all those albums, I could see that. So I don't know.
Well, it depends on when that album comes out.
Right.
Because this will be,
that's the question. Is she's got two things at play now.
Right.
So yes, tickets go. Is it on here? When tickets go on sale? Friday, Feb 14. So next Friday, Valentine's Day,
Put 'em up.
12 p.m. local. That is when you can go join the digital line circus.
Great.
For Beyonce tickets.
There's a lot of guys who are like, damn it, I gotta get those tickets for Valentine's Day. I'm gonna be in trouble.
Good luck with that. Good luck. All right, so we've done our bit here. We've sort of weighed in, but we've got Shirley Halperin standing by, and we will get to her firsthand account of everything LA this past weekend. That is coming up in just a moment. Back on Sound Up, and as promised from the Hollywood Reporter, we've got Shirley Halperin here to give us the lowdown. She was there in the flesh for the incredible weekend that we had in Los Angeles. Welcome, Shirley.
Hi, guys. Thanks so much for having me.
Still made it through, still front and center at everywhere you need to be, and then back on the job. We're always impressed.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I missed you guys. It's so nice to hear your voice.
Let me ask you something. Was this like the busiest weekend for you in recent memory?
It was busy, but not as busy as the Grammys usually are. Usually there's about 80 events between Tuesday and Sunday night. And this year it was really just Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So it was way easier to sort of handle and navigate. And, of course it was still like exhausting, but not the way that it usually is. But I was sad to see some of the events cancel, like my friends at We Are Moving the Needle. They had an amazing show planned for their Resonator Awards that if it had gone down, like you guys would have just died at the lineup that they had. So there were things that were like, it was kind of sad to be to let them go, honestly. But then there were others that I was happy to not have to attend.
To not have to deal with.
Yeah.
So before we start going night by night through all of this chaos, sort of one big question that I'm really curious about, because hovering over all of this and the reason that all that other stuff was canceled. And a couple of weeks ago, it was unclear whether the Grammys were going to go forward against the backdrop of the fires and devastation that has surrounded you in Los Angeles. And every event was clearly navigating, trying to sort of find the right emotion and how to pitch and how to handle the fact that we're doing these big celebrations in light of all of this tragedy and disaster. So overall, what was the feeling of the weekend? Did it feel like people kind of figured that out and found a place to land, or was it awkward? Was it complicated night to night how that went? Just what was the tenor of all of this?
I think actually each event navigated it really well. If you're looking at like the 4 events, Thursday night was FireAid, Friday night was a MusiCares tribute to the Grateful Dead, Saturday was the Clive Davis pre-Grammy gala, which they called an event this year. And then the Grammys, like they all integrated fundraising and appreciation of the first responders in a way that was, really kind of like heartwarming, and it wasn't so dour, like it really felt kind of more like a rising from the ashes situation. But I will say, on the red carpet, it didn't seem like there was too much wildfire acknowledgement going on with those crazy dresses and the everything was very normal on the carpet. We had sort of at THR talked about will the looks be subdued this year, and especially looking at Oscars coming up, and that did not seem to be the case. So, and then in terms of awkward, it's not awkward, but there were multiple times throughout the weekend where I saw people who I know lived in the Palisades. And it was just a question of did your house make it or did it not? And it is just so common because so many music business people lived in the Palisades and in Altadena. So it was a constant piece of conversation that every guest had to navigate, with people that they know. But I think the original concern, and I think I wrote the story about how it might be postponed or published it, maybe I didn't write it, but I published it. The concern was really more about hotel rooms and logistical situations because, if the West Side had remained closed, it would have been really difficult, especially for the events, like the parties surrounding the Grammys. That was more of the concern, and just not knowing in those days, after the fires, how debilitating is it going to be to Los Angeles? It was a question mark. But I think they ultimately made the right decision. It was just it was such a good show, and we all kind of needed it, and I'm really glad that it went on.
We should start with FireAid. We'll do it sort of chronologically. There was an event that didn't really have to navigate. It's a benefit, and they made, I think, the right call having Billy Crystal MC it or open it. A guy who has done these kinds of events before. Certainly, we all know September 11th here in New York. What was your take on that, on the way that they did navigate that benefit?
Well, it was Tate McRae, who I really like, but she had clothes on and she sang a crowd. She had a crowd and she sang a Crowded House cover, right? So that was kind of the musical pivot, which I thought was really smart. I did actually have a run of show and it didn't list the Nirvana reunion. So that was a real surprise moment. People were genuinely wow. So in terms of navigating the fires, I mean, it was the same thing. It's they had packages that were really well done. There were first responders everywhere, and they were wearing shirts that said first responder. And it really felt like the LA community came together for that one. It was really, I was at the Forum. I went into it later because it was divided among two arenas that were kind of close to each other, but a mile away. And the Forum was such a great place to be because it felt like any night at the Forum, but it also felt very special because of who was there and who was just hanging around. There were a lot of serious people there. And it was special, I thought.
What were particular highlights in either room? Because I'm always curious what hit hard in the room that may or may not have translated on TV. I had people texting saying when Gracie Abrams came out, the place exploded, maybe the loudest of the night, but I don't know that was as evident watching the broadcast.
Yeah, and I could see that, and I didn't see the broadcast, so I don't really know, but the energy in the room I thought was great and respectful. It was almost like the Forum had opened its doors to open seating, everybody come in. I mean, it wasn't that, but it felt like that. So that was one thing. But the big highlight at the Forum, first, I noticed that during Joni Mitchell's performance, the place really quieted down. It's hard to quiet down an entire arena. And they were very, again, just respectful and listening and appreciating and really feeling a California moment. And then into it, I heard the same thing. Gracie Abrams, Olivia Rodrigo. I was backstage for a bit and, saw all these just kids just lined up to meet Billy and Olivia. And, it was just such a sweet, sweet scene, more of a family scene. And then my personal highlight from the Forum was definitely the Dave Grohl, Chris Novoselic moment where at St. Vincent, once she came out, it was just just warms my heart. I love that woman.
What about Joan Jett?
That was cool too. That was cool. And Violet Grohl was great. Kim Gordon was incredible.
Right.
We tried asking her about it on the carpet yesterday. She did not give too much information. But I will tell you this, that I saw John Silva, who is the Foo Fighters manager, at that show, and he said something along the lines I'm shocked and can't believe that this actually came together. So I'm sure it was a lot of work.
So we should move to that one people at least had a chance to see. Then the next two nights were the, more insider events that we need to rely on you to hear. And I am sure that the MusiCares event was one close to your heart. But yes. How did that all shake out?
It was so close to my heart. You can read my recap on thr.com, which I had to do kind of quickly. I would have said a lot more if I had more time. You know, MusiCares is it's an annual tradition. It's actually kind of one of the more enjoyable events in that it's artists performing the icons' music. A lot of really interesting interpretations over the years and collaborations, and this one was like that, but it was very much for like the Grateful Dead contingent, which there are a lot of us in the music industry. It was like a real appreciation of their place in the music business. Like they weren't sitting there going like, oh, they did like 55 million, in their summer tour of 84. It wasn't that, but it was like, this band has been so influential to so many musicians, and so many business people got into the business because they love this band. And it was just like such a warm vibe in that room. Normally, that room can feel a little torturous after a while. That was not the case. Everyone ran down to the front. Like Bob Weir's table, which was like, like front and center, was surrounded by fans who were like blocking his view, So, and they're like, what? What do you want? We're Deadheads. We will here. Like I wrote, it's like, if there's a space to annex, they will. But it really was incredible because, like, I was thinking about all the people who went to see Dead and Co. at the Sphere. You're pretty far away from the band in that show. And here you really were just like 10 feet away. I mean, it was just incredible.
I understand they modified the dress code that they encourage
Yes.
Grateful Dead wear.
They encourage Grateful Dead wear, and I saw a lot of like really cool ties and hats, and like, it was kind of interesting to see who like the secret Deadheads are, because there's some I didn't even know like the Dead, that, people that I knew. So it really just brought, it brought that community together. There wasn't like a huge name for the performances. I mean, they had Dwight Yoakam, Sammy Hagar, Nora Jones, Vampire Weekend, The War on Drugs, who were incredible. But I think John Mayer kind of stole the show. He did this 12-minute long acoustic Terrapin Station, which, if anyone knows Terrapin Station, it's like Bohemian Rhapsody. It's like
It's an album side.
Yeah, it's like multiple acts and different keys, and there's a full orchestra on the album version, and he really stripped it down to just an acoustic guitar, and it was incredible. I'm sure he's been practicing this from like the day he joined the
He's
band.
in the damn band. What do you know?
But having seen the band a lot, I've seen John sort of try out different things. Like, how many notes can I squeeze into this tiny little bit of air between this and this, And this was kind of like that, but it just showed his musicianship in such an incredible way. I couldn't even get close to that one. There were so many people crowding around. Like, I couldn't even get like a tiny little video, but I watched it later, and it sounds amazing.
Do you think that they represented, in terms of their music, was it well represented? And was there any sense, either from you or, some of these people who, like you said, you didn't know, like the Dead, like these guys were the counterculture. These guys were railing against, everything and everyone in 1968. And here they are getting this sort of, great and well-deserved industry recognition. But was there some sort of weird culture shift or something that's happened? Or did anybody feel like, wow, the Dead?
I don't think so, but maybe it's because I'm like very deeply entrenched in that world. I will say one thing I know about the Dead, I've kind of like noticed over the years, is their music is really timeless. Like, they don't talk about the Vietnam War, right? There's no lyrics about Nixon or like things that were happening at the time. And that makes it kind of like, it sort of sits in its own universe. It doesn't feel dated in a way. They have like their sort of like murder ballady kind of things, trains and hobos and stuff.
Right, all that sort of stuff that comes out of folk music and country tradition and all that.
Exactly,
yeah.
But it doesn't give you a sense of time. So that, I think, was like kind of the people who were there who really appreciate the legacy of the Dead, and that includes a lot of music business people, the Rhino Records people, and Live Nation, and whoever else is invested in them. But it really, like, you really got the sense that this is like bigger than a band. You know, this is a movement. They were able to do it well. Bill Korsman could not be there. I think he was supposed to be.
Yeah.
Yeah, he sent a video message, and yeah, that was sad. But you know, and the speeches were like sad and funny. Woody Harrelson told this hilarious story about not dropping. He was had mushrooms with Jerry, and it was just, you know, everyone knows all these people, whether you know them or not, you know? So it just felt very united and comfortable. Like, you know, like a chicken dinner.
Like the dead. Speaking of chicken dinner, let's take a look at Saturday.
Yes, exactly.
It was
Speaking of terrible chicken dinners.
Talk about, you know, again, trying to find the tone. The Clive Davis pre-Grammy party tradition is always about sort of opulence and luxury and elite. Like, that's kind of what it's about. So what was the modification made this year to try and make that fit how things went down?
They did, I think, some smart modifications. They didn't do a red carpet. They just did a little photo area. So it wasn't that like melee of screams and people. It was like much quieter as just an affair. It seemed like a lot of people didn't come out for Grammys, probably because their events were canceled. They didn't want to bring the entire New York office, whatever it was. So it seemed a little smaller. And it certainly ran shorter because we were out of there by like 11:30, and usually, you know, that thing can go to 1. It didn't really feel that different, other than it just didn't have a lot of the sort of the flashy glam night, date night, look who's here kind of thing. Clive was seated for the entire, you know, like being on stage, like he was seated on the stage, and still able to crack some jokes and stuff. And he did his traditional shout outs. There weren't as many because I really think there weren't as many people in the room. And other than that, it was pretty straightforward. The music was good. Benson Boone was fantastic. Teddy Swims, like a lot of the new talent. Doechii, of course. Like it was really about the new artists this year, and not really relying on the like old standards. I mean, Barry Manilow was there, you know, Michael Bublé delivered Frank Sinatra, but yeah, it was like, you know, a lot of the attention and excitement was around the new artists this year.
And for the new artists, a lot of times this event has been Clive presenting, here's who's going to be this. I mean, famously, Alicia Keys, like,
Yes,
that was his moment of saying, here's who's going to be the star. Check this out. Was there anything that felt like a moment, or anybody that felt sort of anointed like that? Or was it, you know, just sort of, here's this new generation?
I don't recall anyone. Wait, Joni was at that one too, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
Joni performed at that one too.
She did too. She
Yeah.
did Both Sides Now in Summertime, right? I think.
Right. That's right. I think that Joni Mitchell moment, I mean, it's not a new artist, but it was like the new artists respect Joni Mitchell so much. And anyone young is just like, I can't believe I'm in the presence of Joni Mitchell. That was definitely a standout moment. And, you know, personally, I love the guitars. They had some great guitars, like Black Crowes, Andrew Watt. I was into the guitar parts of it. That was really excellent. There were some fun moments like backstage before the show. Post Malone just, you know, hanging out with like Teddy Swims and sort of taking him under his wing kind of thing. And, you know, seeing like Chad Smith talking
face
to like
tattoo meeting.
Yeah.
yeah, it was a
Summit.
face tattoo meeting. I might have a picture of it.
Oh.
Seeing like Chad Smith and you know, Chris Robinson and you know, Barry Manilow was kind of like, when's the picture? You know, like, you know, old, you know, cranky guy comes in. Like, it was a really interesting scene.
So any take on the night that Kendrick had, and the fact that it seemed, I don't know if you agree or not, that it didn't exactly turn out to be the ladies' night that it might have been, and yet, you know, Beyonce
Yes.
walked away with Album of the Year, so that's a huge win. But what
Yeah.
what was your take on that?
There's a couple things, right? There was the women's thing, and again, this sort of generational shift happening. What did you look at that Grammys and see as sort of a, you know, a bigger pattern?
Well, I think the Kendrick win was a big surprise. The big four wins. I mean, obviously, we all love that song, and he represents LA so well. He really is just embodies the culture of West Coast. And but still, it was a diss track. It was like, to anoint a song that really comes down harsh on somebody else, on a label mate, or whatever music company mate. It seems weird to award that, as much as we all love it. So we posted a story this morning about sort of the significance of his win, and what that means for his place in the rap pantheon, West Coast royalty, we call him. So yeah, it was a big surprise. I really did think our predictions were like Billie Eilish for record and song of the year, Chapel for best new artist, and Beyonce for album of the year. So okay, we got two of those. But I really thought Billie was gonna take that, because it's such a Grammy perfect song. It's not one where you have to, like, if your kids are in the car, you have to like turn it down, or be like, put your iPad on or whatever. Like, it is just so accessible, and so
I picked that for Song of the Summer. That was my
it
song of the
was kind
summer.
of a song of the summer, but it was also
Yeah.
kind of a song of the year. But
Yeah.
anyway, it was very surprising. I think we're gonna like take a couple of days to analyze it, because record of the year is also an interesting win for him. Because I've always thought of that as more of like a production, or the creation of the song, and I can't imagine a lot of time went into doing it, because it was put out so quickly. So I don't know. I need to like really assess what this means.
I had picked it for record of the year on sort of pure phenomenon basis.
Okay,
Right? That it's the
fair.
recording you will think of when you think of this year for a lot of people. That was my pick. I was more surprised about the song of the year pick, which obviously those have meant different things in the past, but my pick there was not that I'm, which leads to the next question. My pick there had been the Bruno and Gaga song, which leads me to ask about the performances. And again, it's always interesting to see what things feel like in the room versus what things feel like for broadcast, especially when something is so much a TV production as the Grammys are. So something like that, Gaga and Bruno doing California Dreamin' on the awards, was that a big thing in the room, or was that really played to the cameras and just kind of something that was happening?
One thing that you definitely noticed in the room that you wouldn't have seen on TV is how precise the choreography was between acts. They were very smart about how they did it. Ben Winston, Jesse Collins, the whole like production team, because it was flawless. And they had like three different sections of the stage that worked very well with each other, and gave you a sense of space that like you were somewhere else, even though it's all on the same stage. I thought it was very well done. Something like the Doechii dance, like a Doechii number, those dancers look better on TV than what we saw in the room, because it's all about how the camera positions them. This is where I thought the production team was really good. Those guys know how to make a TV show. I mean, the basic formula hasn't changed. It's still award, performance, but there was kind of like an energy and a pulse and a pace to this one that I really felt hit the mark.
I was really impressed. We talked about it before a little bit, to commit to, we're going to do whatever it was, 6 of the best new artist nominees all in a row.
Yes.
All without
Brilliant.
break. And it came off great, but that's a big swing.
Absolutely. And you know who won that round? Ray.
We agree in the room over here. Roger is a huge fan, so yeah.
She literally tore the house down, and that was a Grammy performance. Like in the oldest, like the classy, in the classic sense. Yeah, she totally brought it down. And I will also say Benson Boone, because I know he can do those flips.
Yeah.
I've seen him do it a lot, but most people didn't. And they were like gasping. And the outfit, and he was great.
What do you make of the idea that Beyonce has won Country Album of the Year.
I thought it was very significant.
Why?
Because as we were sort of asking around about, oh, who do you think is going to win, or who did you vote for? We got the sense that the country community would not be supporting this album. And I was shocked, honestly. I mean, she was shocked, the world was shocked. It really means a lot. Now, I did talk to some like country music, people who are like more experts than me. And they said that this was a very weak category in terms of like the country artists that were nominated. And Lainey was kind of like the one, that could maybe
not as good as the last album.
Yeah, exactly. So maybe that was the case, but I think it's important. It's significant. It was like a real wow moment. And Taylor giving her the award, that was also very symbolic. Taylor handing it to her.
Making Taylor the presenter. Obviously, this was what they were hoping for.
Yes.
That was the shot they wanted, and they got it.
Yeah, exactly. So again, very well choreographed, right? Like they did the right pairings. Like we didn't see a reality star up there going like, watch my new like whatever island show next week. Like it was very smart the way they booked it.
And having we should say at some point, having the Fire team present the album of the year was really a nice touch.
That was great.
It was amazing. I mean, I was in the room for that. And that was like standing ovation, people crying, I mean, I'm sure they had plenty of drinks in them by that point, but like really just like, wow, what a Grammys. And I think the New York Times said it best the other day. Beyonce is America. Give her the Grammy. It really was a significant thing to say, this is American culture and this is important music that people need to pay attention to. Might not be the most popular thing. You might not hear it on the radio, but it's important.
What I've been saying is the fact that country radio did not play the record. And side note, it's not even really a country album. I mean,
which side note, she said when she released it,
yes,
by way of saying, don't get lost in this whole genre thing. But this is not a country record; it's a Beyonce record. That was how she teed it up.
Yeah, but it still has to be submitted for the category.
That's right.
So somebody submitted that as a country album. Yeah, and just having her there. I mean, for a second, I was like, is this room gonna have Taylor, Kanye, Beyonce, right? I was just like starting to like map out the feuds. And, I was like, this could be a very combustible, not to say probably the wrong word. This could be a real like, viral situation. So, I mean, Kanye and Bianca left right after the carpet. But it would have been really interesting.
Any take on the quote unquote statements that were made? Chapel Roan comes to mind.
So that was the talk of the after parties. Probably because I was with a lot of like, label people and stuff, but
they were all saying, God, I can't believe she read it out of a book.
Yeah, that was not what they were fixated on. I think it was very important and like, not brave, but like almost necessary, like to say that there are major mental health issues that come with music, pop music especially. And there really aren't the resources. Some of the companies have set up though, like, therapists and people that anyone signed to the label can talk to and any staff member can talk to. So maybe there's been some movement on that front, but I think that was very important to say. The part about major labels and, we got you, but do you got us? Like, it kind of felt like, I don't know what she's talking about. Does something happen? Right? Like, I mean, I know she was dropped from Atlantic, which she referenced, though not by name. It was interesting being in the Warner booth during that moment. And And she was like, I understood what she was talking about, but I can't imagine that the TV audience would know. And of course, as reactionary as we are, and like I'm going to take a side as we are now, it's probably going to be like Chappell, stuck it to the music business. She's the the truth teller,
Look, it's
etc. So
She's the
consistent
Taylor
with
Swift of her
it's
generation.
consistent
yeah,
with her through the year, talking about her mental health struggles, pulling out of events
yes,
because she didn't feel strong enough. And look, anything that raises any more spotlight on the healthcare situation in this country in any way
yeah,
is
is a
ultimately
positive.
for the best. So,
Yeah.
last thing, we got to let you go, but I have to say I loved that Charlie XCX performance. We haven't mentioned that. Did anybody even know what was going on there
No,
since
we
it was?
didn't even see
Did you
it.
even
It
see
was
it?
like,
Yeah.
yeah, it was like in some other part of the building, and it was fantastic. But that was definitely another one that played better on TV than in the room. It played great on TV. She looked incredible, and she'd already won 3 Grammys by that point, so it really felt like a victory dance. It would have been nice to see her a little bit more around the tables and like hanging out and being her Charlie self, but I think she provided just the perfect performance to let people know like who she is, what she's about, how she rules that scene. Her little like her acolytes behind her, the underwear, like great choreography. Every little element had significance.
Genuinely felt chaotic, which I loved.
It did. It did. And then that commercial that she did with Matthew McConaughey, like that was
So good.
hilarious.
Oh my
That
God.
was
Yeah.
really
It
good.
was so funny. And it's like, I kind of wish the Grammys were more like the Super Bowl where we got like a lot of amazing music star ads, which I know they did. They also interspersed the local ads, which was like really profoundly wonderful. But yeah, like it felt like an event. And maybe it's because LA has been so down in the dumps these last few weeks. It was really needed and appreciated. And between FireAid, and the Grateful Dead, a California institution, and it really was a good weekend and a good Grammys.
Shirley Halperin, we really appreciate you breaking it down.
That's why we need
Co-editor-in-chief of
you.
The Hollywood Reporter. And man, great to have the eyes that you have behind the scenes for us. Thank you. Welcome back to Sound Up. As always, we love hearing from you, our Sound Up Pod Squad, and we've got a couple to run by you. This week we got this email. Brad wrote in and asked, "Can you name a song with a great guitar riff, but otherwise isn't very good?" That's a great question.
It's a really good question. I got to think about that for a minute, though. Anybody have anything straight off the dome on that?
Off the dome, Eddie Money.
Okay, which?
The first Eddie Money album, was it? I can't remember the name of the song. He was sort of an outlaw. I forget the name of the song, but it was, the song was like, oh God, another outlaw song, and he's a fine singer. And his band was good. The guitar player in his band was really good. The song was meh. That was off the dome.
I got to think about that. It's really good. I like it a lot. Even from bands you like or bands you don't. I mean, in some ways, maybe even more so for bands you like. Like, there is probably something on the Clash "Give 'Em Enough Rope" album, if I think about it, that's like a great sounding Clash song and then not that great a song. That would,
Right.
So
are we going to make
good
this
one?
one
We'll post
our
that.
throwback question, or
It's not going to be our throwback, but I'm going to put it up and get people to answer this one because it's a lot of fun.
I would love to hear the other one that off the dome. I thought, again, not a song, it could be any. Is Yes. Yes, has great solos. The song sometimes,
some riffs,
yeah.
And I was thinking Toto in the same way.
Right.
Like a lot of cool riffs, but I'm not really into the songs,
Right. It's that kind of thing.
All right. Really good. Answer. Go answer on our socials, and we'll go over your answers, your responses on our next episode. We also received this email from our Pod Squad VIP, our beloved Sunita.
Sunita writes, "Hey Sound Up, I'm feeling so much Monday morning come down after the last few nights of exceptional musical performances between FireAid and the Grammys. This past year has been my most favorite year in music in recent memory. Highlights of the night were performances by all of the best new artists, but especially Doechii. Her acceptance speech was perfect. The woman left no crumbs, and she already dropped a new song in celebration of her win. Gaga and Bruno's hauntingly beautiful rendition of California Dreamin' was much better than their mid-level duet that actually won them the award. Cynthia Erivo and Herbie Hancock's tribute to Quincy was exquisite. On the other hand, Lainey Wilson was not. She's much better than her performance. Unfortunately, she sounded bad, ruined the song, and spoiled the tribute. Thank goodness for Stevie Wonder coming in and cleaning it up. I wish they would have broadcast the rock categories, with time made by shortening Will Smith and Shakira's allotment, not just so that I could see the Beatles accept their award, but because the Rolling Stones, St. Vincent, and the category itself deserved that recognition. Despite his new album drop, I could have done without the Weeknd surprise performance as it felt out of place, especially when he's not nominated for anything this year, and I'm saying this as a fan of his. I am bummed that Billy got shut out despite having such a tremendous song and album. So many times during the ceremony, I was truly verklempt. From witnessing a historic moment like Taylor presenting Beyonce with the award for Best Country Album and hearing Queen Bey say, "Genre is a code word to keep us in our place as an artist." You know, I feel this deeply. Followed by Chappell saying, "Record labels, we got you, but do you got us?" Plus all of the other heartfelt speeches set against the backdrop of our current political climate and the devastation in LA. I found it all to be very moving. Keep feeding us all of this great content, Sound Up. I'm hoping you guys do a road trip show this summer and come broadcast from Motown. Love you.
Nice.
She's right. Those were some great lines. Yeah. She's right. Yeah. Well, I don't know what Will Smith was going on about. Some other great lines. I mean, Gaga saying, trans rights are human rights. Trans people are not invisible. Alicia Keys, a fantastic line. DEI is a strength and not a threat. To have those things expressed is important. So, yes, she's right about those, and she's right about some of the lowlights as well.
For sure. Thank you, Sunita. Always great to hear from you.
Kieran gave us a FireAid review, which I will read here. The stars were on stage and in the crowd last Thursday night at the 2-venue 6-hour Mega Bill FireAid benefit. Nary a small font band in sight. Good fortune smiled upon me as I found myself with a 5th-row center seat at the Intuit Dome, surrounded by people who looked almost as important as they probably are. To paraphrase Fitzgerald, the rich are different than you and me. They have better dermatologists. Highlights, too many to name. Pink and the Black Crowes each doing a Zeppelin cover. Jelly Roll crushing Hollywood Nights. A Nirvana reunion. My highlight came well past midnight as some folks in the front row left for home, and I found myself on the rail seeing Sting, Flea, and Stevie Wonder together on stage. Higher ground indeed. What an amazingly well-run show, logistically and artistically, put together in only 2 weeks while the fires were still burning. 6 hours of the best of what LA does, better than anywhere else in the world. That's from Kieran.
Hear, hear.
To be there for that stuff would be great. I mean, what are you going to say? And I definitely like Jelly Roll pulling out the Bob Seger cover.
Right? Oh, that's right. That's right. Well, yeah, I got to say, thanks. That's a great recap. And man, oh man, it was a long night, but a great night. All right. Should we do some new music picks?
Yeah, before we get out of here, let's do that.
All right. Kick it off, Alan. What do you got this week?
I'll do them quick. One is, we talked about Doechii. Seizing her moment, she released a new song the morning after the Grammy Awards, speaking about her victory at the Grammy Awards. So, I don't know, did she have this teed up, ready to go in case she won? Or do we want to believe that she went in the studio that night and cut this? I'm going to go with that just for the fun of it. A song called Nosebleeds. She celebrates and gloats, and good on her for doing it. And it's just as weird and stop and start and shifting up styles and flow as all the other stuff that she does. Hopefully the world, I said I was late to Doechii. When the nominations happened, I was like, yeah, I don't really know. Caught up over the holidays listening, and I'm all in. And great performance at the awards, and instantly coming with another great song. So Nosebleeds, my first pick. My second has nothing to do with the Grammys, but a band I really like. A little band out of Brooklyn called Momma, Momma. Those of you who are fans of our Sirius XM show recall that we had them up to play at one point there. And a very sort of 90s, belly, kind of thick, not shoegazy because it's rougher than that, but that kind of soupy 90s mix. I like these guys a whole lot. They have a new album coming out. They led with the first single. It's called I Want You, parenthesis, Fever. And it sounds great. And it sounds like sort of still in that lane, but getting better and stronger. And I point you, I don't have it in front of me. They got some nice opening gigs that they did. Got in front of some audiences. It's, got to be one, you got to go build one room at a time. But especially if you like, again, and the night FireAid, from No Doubt to Alanis to Green, it was a total I Heart the 90s show going there. If you're into that stuff, Momma could work for you. So that is where I point you with my other pick of the week.
I'm so glad you picked that one, Alan. I'm so
Did you
glad.
listen?
I did.
Yeah.
And I was going to
really
pick
good.
it, but I, was trying to keep it brief here for us because, we can't play the damn songs. And that's why we hope you're going to Spotify and listening to the Sound Up soundtrack playlist so you can actually hear the songs that we're talking about. What I've got is something from a band that's been away for a couple of years. Lord Huron is back. And the single they put out is called the single features Kristen Stewart. And they put out something a couple, 6 or 8 months ago in a soundtrack. But this song with Kristen Stewart, where she's speaking, Who Laughs Last, is amazing. And the band is rocking. Lord Huron, you don't think of as a rocking band, but this one kind of rocks. And Kristen Stewart, apparently they're huge fans of each other, and was happy to be on this, and she sounds intense, as you would hope. They do have a tour coming up starting July 18th and wrapping in November in LA. My second pick is Tunde Adebimpe. I think we may have talked about him. He put out a song a little while back, the guy from TV on the radio. The Black Bolts will be the name of the new album coming out in April. The fact that this guy found time to even do a record blows my mind. Because he has been acting lately. I mean, since our TV on the radio sort of went on hiatus and stuff, he's been acting. He's been in some big movies, and he was in Twisters. He was in this Star Wars television show. But he put something out, I guess, last fall called Magnetic that I wasn't totally into. I thought it was okay, but I didn't flip out for it. I think I mentioned it too. And he talked about this album, but he didn't say anything about it. So now we have his first ever solo album, The Black Bolts, which apparently is a reference to a Marvel character. You got me there, Black Bolt.
Going deep in the Marvel catalog.
Way deep. The guy never speaks because his voice is too powerful that he can level cities. Interesting. So I would say Drop is the name of the song, by the way, if I haven't mentioned it. Tunde Adebimpe, and the first thing to come from The Black Bolts. That's my second pick.
Can I just say on that Lord Huron, Kristen, I listened to that song
and
thought it was really cool, and then thought I never need to listen to this again.
Why? Because it's spoken?
Because it's just this sort of lengthy, like I wouldn't put it on the list before of a great riff and a okay song, but kind of a great riff, a great track. And then, she does this sort of dramatic, breathy, sort of goes on for a while monologue. And I was like, yeah, that's really cool, but I don't know that I want to hear it again. Just saying.
That's fair enough. That's why there's chocolate and vanilla, as they say. All right, Roger, you got nothing this week?
I got nothing.
All right, you've been busy. We're going to let you off this week. Fair enough.
Fair enough.
So, as I mentioned, please go and listen to the new music picks that we pull out for you weekly on Spotify. It's the Sound Up Soundtrack playlist. We're going to wrap it up for Sound Up this week. Check us out on socials for exclusive content and more, all at Sound Up Pod.
Please go give us a 5-star review, go like our Facebook page, and make sure to check us out on Instagram, X, Blue Sky, and TikTok. And always email us, just like some of the folks you heard from earlier, at connect@sounduppod.com.
We appreciate it. We love hearing from you. We'll catch you next week.
Sound Up is hosted by Mark Goodman and Alan Light, produced by Roger That Media, distributed by Revolver Podcasts. Theme music by Smile from Tokyo. For more information, go to sounduppod.com.